All right, let me see if I got this right. This is your answer, I'm assuming. So I ignored all the hints. I'm just going to try and do this. So if we're taking, well, actually, what does it say? It says determine in terms of n. So n is going to be in our answer. Determine the value of x for which f prime of x equals 0. Okay, so let's find f prime. That's our first task. If we find f prime, we have to use the quotient rule. So f prime of x is low d high times the derivative, so the bottom times the derivative of the top. Low d high minus high, which is e to the x, d low. Well, x is our variable, n is just some number, so low d high minus high d low, that's just 1. If we take the derivative of this is just some number, it's a constant. This is our variable, so the derivative of just x is 1. So low d high minus high d low all over low squared. Okay, now it must be equal to 0. All right, it's because we're saying find the value of x for which this is true. So we found f prime and we need to set it equal to 0. Now we need to solve for x. Here's the thing. Maybe this is what is going on. We have e to the x on this minus e to the x all over x plus n quantity squared. Okay, for a fraction, I think this is what you're thinking about, because you're like, wait a minute, why is this just 1? Why does that go away? Why is this the same? Well, no, it's not 1. Here's the thing. This is the concept behind it. If you have a fraction and you have 0 in the numerator, well, this is still just 0. If you have a fraction and you have 0 in the denominator, say like you have 5 and 0, this is undefined. We don't have a value for that. That's undefined. We can't do anything with that. Okay, so for a fraction to be 0, the numerator has to be 0. So maybe if I'm solving this, I'm still solving for x. However, I have, well, I guess I could factor stuff. I'm going to factor out an e to the x. So I still have 0 equals e to the x, because I think something happens. X plus n minus 1. Right? Oh, maybe something doesn't happen. Divided by x to the x plus n quantity squared. Okay, actually that doesn't help. But if I'm solving for x, well, I kind of want to get all my x's in the top, just to see what happens. I kind of want to get all my x's in the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply both sides. I'm not going to do that in red. I mean green. I'll multiply both sides by x plus n quantity squared. X plus n quantity squared. And then that just, I mean, the 0 eats it up. Anything times 0 is still 0. Any number, anyways. And so we still have x plus n. I don't need the parentheses anymore, minus 1. So then we have this. Okay, that's great. Now how do I solve this? Well, this actually happens when we're factoring. I mean, this is already factored, so this is actually the zero product property. If two things multiplied together, 1, 2, if two things are multiplied together and it equals 0, then that means one of them, this, or this, has to be 0. So to solve for x, you can just go e to the x equals 0, and you set each piece equal to 0. That's something that we did, like you should have done in Algebra 1. You factor it and then set each piece equal to 0. So I have two separate problems. However, e to a negative number, say like -1, that's just 1 over e. That's 1 over 2.17 or 771, whatever. That's not 0. So that's not 0. Okay, a negative number, not 0. If I plug in 0, well, that's just 1, which is still not 0. Okay. What if I plug in a positive number? Well, that's still e, which is not 0. Here's the thing. This this actually cannot happen. We can't have this. This is not true. So if this cannot be 0, then this must be 0. So the x value that makes this part 0, I can just solve for. Subtract n to both sides. I have x minus 1 equals negative n. Add 1 to both sides. And so I have x equals, I'm just going to put 1 minus n. Okay, so that's the x value, 1 minus n. Make sure you listen very carefully to what I was saying, just because there's a lot of things going on here. So yeah, there we go. Ain't that beautiful?